Hey everybody, Kuroda, Rob here. How's it going? As some of you guys may know, I'm a huge fan of Jurassic Park and also of dinosaurs and just in general, and I have been since I was a kid. And in honor of both Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom's release today on June 22nd in North America and Jurassic Park's 25th anniversary, which was a couple weeks or so ago, I really felt like I wanted to make a video about the series and just talk about why I love the series. And I felt a good way to do that would be to rank the first four films, because obviously haven't seen Fallen Kingdom yet. I'm going to be seeing it Sunday. And I really just felt like I had a lot to say about it. And to me, this series has been a huge part of my childhood, and it's had a resurgence recently, both that and dinosaurs. Just a resurgence of interest. Call it like, turning 30 and being very nostalgic for my childhood and all this stuff. I mean, I don't really know how to really explain the resurgence of interest of the series, but there's certainly been one for me lately. And my hype for Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom over the last few months has just been through the roof, and I'm super stoked about the movie. It looks great. I've already seen a lot of reviews about it. I've seen a lot of videos about it, a lot of people talking about it, and it just looks like it has the potential, in my opinion, to be the best movie in the series since the first film. And I thought maybe a fun little thing to do today would be to rank the four movies in order of preference and how much I like them. So without further ado, guys, here is my list of the Jurassic Park films ranked in order. So number 4 on the list, and to me the weakest entry, and to a lot of people the weakest entry, Jurassic Park 3. Now, a lot of people give this movie a lot of flack. A lot of people don't like it. It has a lot of issues, and it's essentially the movie that kind of put the franchise in a coma for, what was it, about 14 years. Jurassic World came out in 2015. Jurassic Park 3 came out in 2000. And I could see why. I always thought it was a good movie. I always really liked it. I never really liked it as much as the first two films, but I did enjoy the film. I liked the Spinosaurus. It was kind of scary when I first saw the movie. Now, I would have been 12, 13-ish when I saw that film, and in retrospect, watching it a few times, there's definitely issues with the movie in terms of there isn't as much meat to the plot line as I think as the first two films. One of the reasons for that, I think, is both that Jurassic Park 3 had a pretty troubled production. From what I understand, they wrote the script, threw it out, wrote the script, threw it out. They ended up actually having to rewrite the script while they were filming the actual movie. So it was plagued with a lot of issues. I know it was the first Jurassic film that Steven Spielberg did not direct, which was, in my opinion, probably a huge part of it too. There also wasn't any kind of material that they could really base the third film off of, because by that point Michael Crichton had passed away. And I believe he was also supposed to work on that film as well before he died, but obviously that didn't happen. And I mean, you could argue there was a lot of material from the books that they probably could have put together to make a third film. At first, they kind of wanted to do like a fresh storyline, but then they kind of changed it to this rescue mission and everything. And there's a lot of issues in terms of the story not really having a climax. There's some odd humor in it that people find off-putting. A lot of people really didn't like the Spinosaurus and T.Rex fight, especially since it was very hyped up before the film and ended up being a really short fight. And of course, a lot of people were also upset that the T.Rex had basically was beaten by the Spinosaurus. But I thought the film was good. I think in terms of having just like a fun sort of film with dinosaurs, it's good. But I also understand people's arguments that's probably not good enough for a Jurassic film. Especially the first two films had a kind of a deeper subtext to the plot about, and it's a theme that's been in both the novels as well, of the idea of genetic power and humans meddling with basically humans meddling with science and nature in a way that maybe we shouldn't be doing. And there's these sort of deeper themes that Jurassic Park 3 just was totally devoid of. And I think for a lot of people, it was a mix of the movie not really having much depth to it, some of the odd placement of the humor, especially during, for example, the scene with the Spinosaurus attacking them on the little barge or the little boat, and it cutting to that kid on the phone, and he's watching Barney and all this stuff. Like, a lot of people found that really cheesy, and I understand why, but I think upon first view, especially if you're a kid, though, it's easy to overlook that type of stuff and just enjoy, whoa, there's dinosaurs and there's a pteranodon like grabbing this kid and dropping him down into its nest, and these little pteranodons are pecking at it. So there's like these little, I don't know, there's the action sequences are really, in my opinion, good, but I would agree with anybody that says that the plot leaves a little something to be desired. A lot of people also have an issue with the character of Alan Grant. I was happy to see him back because he obviously didn't return from the first film. Jeff Goldblum, Ian Malcolm was the main protagonist of The Lost World. But I think a lot of people were also happy to see Alan Grant back. But he was sort of a more cynical Alan Grant that really wasn't... He wasn't the same guy as he was in the first film. He kind of was cynical about dinosaurs and the island and all this stuff. And a lot of people really just wasn't a fan of the way his character was portrayed. And the fact that him and Ellie Sattler weren't together. That never really bothered me too much. I was just happy to see Alan Grant back personally as a kid because I always loved him in the first film. And I could see why people really didn't enjoy the portrayal. To some people, it didn't really feel like Alan Grant. And I don't know, I still think Sam Neill obviously did a good job, and the writing could have been better. I think the problem with Jurassic Park 3 was, I don't think alone, on its own, it was a bad film. But the problem was, it was just a bad Jurassic film. And as in a lot of people's eyes. To me, it's like I'd give it like a C minus personally. I still really enjoy the movie, but it definitely is lacking some of the main, like some of the juicy like meat of the story that the first two films really had. So as far as the entire series, I have to give Jurassic Park 3 really the bottom spot on the list. And it's not because I dislike the film, it's just because it's clearly the weakest entry in the series. Although I will maintain that I thought the Spinosaurus was badass. And the raptors in that were badass too. I like the new design of the raptors in that one. So moving on, I would give the number 3 spot to Jurassic World. Now, to a lot of people, Jurassic World was probably the best film since the original film. I personally like The Lost World better, but I remember going to the theater and watching Jurassic World with my wife now. She was then just a friend before we even started dating. And I remember watching it and just being totally blown away. It is more than just a nostalgia film. I think it's got a unique enough plot that's, to me, honestly completely different than the original Jurassic Park. A lot of people would say, I think, that it's kind of lacking, not in the same way Jurassic Park 3 was lacking in a meteor story, but it sort of fell short of that original like magic feeling of Jurassic Park, I think. But at the time, it still did evoke a little of that, because it had been, again, about 14 years or so since we'd seen a Jurassic film, and obviously a lot of people being disappointed with the third film. I think that Jurassic World really gave the franchise a nice breath of fresh air. New cast, new dinosaurs. A lot of people didn't like the hybrid with the Indominus Rex. I thought it was an interesting concept. I don't want to see them go overboard with it. From what I understand, the Indoraptor in Jurassic World will be the last hybrid of the series, which I'm glad, because I don't hate the hybrids. I just would hate to see the series turn into kind of like almost a parody of itself with all these cheesy, hybrid dinosaurs. It makes sense for to me it makes sense based on the plot that they have now, but I don't think they can continue to do that. I think it's just gonna be it'll turn, as I said before, the series almost into a parody of itself. But I thought the Indominus Rex was cool. It was fearsome. That whole ending sequence with that whole ending part with the battle between the T.Rex and the Indominus Rex and Blue the Velociraptor was awesome. The Mosasaurus was probably my favorite. I won't say dino because the Mosasaurus wasn't a dinosaur, but my favorite creature from that film. It was really great. A couple little scientific inaccuracies, but there's always that in Jurassic Park. And the perfect cop-out for that to me is well, they're supposed to be genetically modified dinosaurs. So, for example, Dimorphodons would not have been able to actually carry those humans as they did in the film. They're just not. They just aren't heavy, strong enough creatures to be able to do that. But anyway, I thought the characters were great. I really liked Chris Pratt's character and Bryce Dallas Howard's character. The kids were a little dorky, but you know what? You kind of need that in a Jurassic Park film. The original intent of the series by Michael Crichton was to have a film through the eyes of have a story through the eyes of a child about dinosaurs. And I believe his original fascination with dinosaurs was through just the idea that children have this kind of draw towards them, as I did. I think that movie kind of recaptures that original idea a little bit, and as did the first film too. But I don't know. I thought the two characters in there were were pretty interesting. I love the scene where they're going through on the gyrosphere through the field of dinosaurs, and there's a Triceratops and a Parasaurolophus and an Apatosaurus and all that. And it kind of gives you that feeling of whoa, we're seeing actual dinosaurs. It makes you as an audience member feel like you're almost there. It's great. And I don't know. I thought the whole. I think that the end of that film, especially with the stuff with Hoskins, where he's talking about making, having a smaller version of the Indominus Rex that could be used, that's smaller, faster, that could be used for the military and all this stuff, and. I kind of like the direction that they're taking with that it's finally you can kind of see hints of them trying to move the plot forward from every film just being them about going to the island, because after a while that idea gets recycled a little too much. It honestly probably has been already. So I actually like the fact that Jurassic World was sort of just barely started to nudge the series in a different direction, which I really think it needed, and it's just going to be blasted right through the wall here with Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom, literally with the island blowing up. And I like that Jurassic World did that it gripped you enough with sort of the nostalgia aspect of it, but it at the same time it's kind of grabbing the series by the collar and, moving it in a different direction, which I think the series really needs. So I really like Jurassic World. I thought it was a great sort of revitalization of the entire series, and I'm interested to see where the series is going to go, especially with Fallen Kingdom being released today. I'm super stoked to see what happens. The implication that I'm getting is that the dinosaurs are going to be moved off of the mainland, which is an idea that sounds kind of, it sounds like that's going to make things very interesting. And I imagine it's why Jeff Goldblum, Ian Malcolm, is popping back up in the new film. But I think as far as being the last film that really takes us to the island and tries to show how the park would have actually looked if John Hammond had been actually successful, I thought that was interesting to see. And I don't know, I really enjoyed Jurassic World. I know there's a lot of critics of the movie, but to me, it really is one of the stronger entries in the franchise, and I really love it. So number 2 on the list is The Lost World Jurassic Park, based very loosely on The Lost World by Michael Crichton, the novel. And to me, this film, as a kid, what I thought was the best Jurassic Park film. I don't know what it is about it. It's a darker film. It's got, I guess maybe because when I was a kid, it had probably the most dinosaurs in it, which is why I really loved it. I liked Ian Malcolm as a character a lot. I think to a lot of people, he's their favorite character in the whole franchise. He's definitely up there for me. I don't know if he's my favorite, but I do love Ian Malcolm a lot. And again, also directed by Spielberg. There's just some beautiful moments in that film, like when the T-Rexes attack the trailer and they knock it off the cliff. That's such a wonderfully shot and wonderfully directed scene from that film, and very iconic as well. The scene where the 2 T-Rexes pull Eddie Carr out of the Jeep and basically bite him in half. It's crazy. And the baby Tyrannosaurus, all the scenes with that where Roland Timbo and Ajay try to basically lure the male Rex over because they're trying to hunt the T-Rex, and they got the little thing strapped up to a chain, and it's there's some very weird, kind of creepy imagery, some very dark scenes in that. I like the return of John Hammond as well from the original film. It was, unfortunately, it's the last time he'd be in a Jurassic Park film, but it was cool to see his return. Briefly, also Lex and Tim, the 2 kids from the original film. And I don't know, I think the plot of The Lost World is very interesting. It's because, and I saw a video analysis of this from a YouTuber that I really like, and he was talking about how the film, the Lost World kind of has a different tone to it, because you look at Ian Malcolm versus Alan Grant as far as the protagonist of the movie. Alan Grant was a bit more, he wasn't as cynical and kind of like dark as Ian Malcolm's character was. And I think it gives that movie a much different tone as opposed to the original Jurassic Park. It definitely does, like I said, gives a more dark, sarcastic kind of tone. There's a lot of kind of weird, like kind of wry humor in the film, and I have to say that it's interesting to see. It's interesting because us as the audience already having seen the first Jurassic Park, and also Ian Malcolm having been in the original Jurassic Park. The whole movie, he's kind of, like, the whole beginning of the movie, really, he's kind of warning all the other characters about they need to get off the island, we didn't even want to go to the island in the first place. He's just trying to go so he can save his girlfriend from any kind of harm being done to her. And, you as the audience member, you're there, and you've seen the first Jurassic Park. You saw the raptors in the kitchen. You saw the T-Rex eat Gennaro off the toilet. You saw the Dilophosaurus, basically devour Nedry. The thing is, us as the audience are with Ian Malcolm in the know about the dangers of going to this island, whereas the other characters, it's funny, they're smart characters, but they come off as stupid to us because we're seeing it through Malcolm's eyes. We're like, no, he's right. Listen to him, you idiots. Listen to him. He's saying, get off the island, And obviously, the other characters really pay dearly for that mistake, and unfortunately, Malcolm too, because all the chaos that happens. Chaos is a huge theme in these films. Like Ian Malcolm specifically, his character, both in the novels and in the first movie, talk about chaos theory and how it tends to it ends up having a snowball effect on the situation they're in, and different variables can cause things to go very wrong very quickly, as is seen by the end of the first act of the film, when they push the trailers over the cliff, and Nick Van Owen, Vince Vaughn's character, basically sabotages the hunters' camp and lets all the dinosaurs free, breaking all their equipment. And then you basically have two teams of a huge group of people who are just completely stranded on the island, no way to communicate, having to go to the other side of the island to be able to use some old radio equipment run off of geothermal power to hopefully be able to contact the mainland, and along the way encounter the T-Rexes again and a bunch of raptors and everything. So it's interesting how when you really look at, you as the audience kind of see the movie through Ian Malcolm's eyes in a way, and I think that is so interesting the way it's done, because the whole time you're sort of like, what's coming, but at the same time, obviously, it's still, it's not a predictable movie. It's a very, very thrilling, I would say, and suspenseful film, and also takes more actually from. There's a lot of scenes actually it takes from the original Jurassic Park novel as well. More so, I would say, than the Lost World novel. It's actually very different from the Lost World novel, but it's just a fun film. A lot of people think that the scene where the T-Rex breaks free in San Diego is kind of dorky. I like that. I always like that theme. It's a nice homage to old kind of monster movies where the monster comes in and terrorizes the city and all that stuff. But I think it's a little less campy. In my opinion, I think it's done well and in a more realistic way. So I like that Steven Spielberg did that kind of homage to those old films. But to me, at the time when I was a kid, I thought The Lost World was the best film. I liked the direction, the kind of change in tone and change in direction that they went with that film. I wish they had, in future films like Jurassic Park 3, had kind of gone more in the direction of, the T-Rex breaking out in San Diego kind of thing, like bringing the dinosaurs to the mainland, which looks like they're finally doing in Fallen Kingdom. But it would have been nice if it happened maybe 2 sequels ago. But that's okay. I still like the other 2 films. But as far as I'm concerned, The Lost World Jurassic Park is fantastic. And as of now, I would say is just a hair under the number 1 film on our list, on my list here. And that would be obviously the original Jurassic Park. I feel like objectively Jurassic Park is the best film of the series, the original Jurassic Park. But I also think, for me, subjectively, it is too. And the reason for that is that when I was a kid, as I mentioned before, I was obsessed with dinosaurs. Like, from as early as I remember, it was my first love. Like, I had dinosaur toys. I carried them in a little plastic bag with me. And I went everywhere, and I'd, bring them out, and I'd play with them. And, I remember, taking to my aunt and uncle's house and be like, this is a T-Rex, this is a blah, blah, blah. And I would just name off all the dinosaurs I had. And I had a huge bag of them. And I remember when Jurassic Park came out. And I would have been about 5 years old when Jurassic Park came out. And I was already into dinosaurs. And I never saw the film in theaters with my parents. I don't know why they wouldn't have taken me to see Jurassic Park when my parents knew I was such a huge fan of dinosaurs. But, I digress there. I didn't see it until it came out on video. And I remember getting that movie and popping that in the old VHS player. And man, did it just blow me away. I remember the first time, I think anybody could agree that first moment when they get on get off the helicopter, drive out to the field, and you just see Alan Grant in the Jeep, and he just takes off his glasses and he just gets up and he looks out the Jeep. And then he basically takes Ellie Sattler's head and just turns it around. And they're just gaze out, and the Brachiosaurus is just standing there huge and beautiful. And nobody had ever seen dinosaurs portrayed like that in a film before. There was always stop motion animation or even claymation, and the dinosaurs always looked weird and kind of definitely very campy looking, very just kind of cheap monster movie quality. But I really think it wasn't until Jurassic Park that that scene with the Brachiosaurus where you go, holy crap, that's a dinosaur. That's what they actually looked like. Like to me as a 6 year old kid, first time I saw that, I just went bananas. I went crazy. I like, I you know it it resulted in me watching that movie so many times that I think my parents just got completely sick of it. I mean, after that, it just sent me into a frenzy. I had dinosaur toys. I got this guy actually that I remember having him the Dimetrodon toys. I had a bunch of the original toys when I was a kid, and it just left such a lasting impression on me that I don't think I'll ever really honestly forget that moment, and the suspense of the first time you ever see that little claw after the power gets knocked out. The first time you see that claw like just get the fence, and you see the T-Rex eat the goat, and it breaks out of its paddock like that whole scene is absolutely phenomenal, and just that whole movie, the way it was done, the way the special effects, the cinematography, the acting, the cast. It's got the hands down the best cast in the entire franchise. You have Jeff Goldblum, Sam Neill, Richard Attenborough. I mean, all the characters. Grant Sattler or Ellie Sattler, Robert Muldoon. I love Robert Muldoon. He's got some of the best lines in the whole series. I mean, it was just done so well, and the writing and the some of the death scenes, like the iconic Nedry getting killed by the Dilophosaurus. I mean, that one still stands out to me as one of my favorite scenes in that whole film. And of course, the infamous raptor scene with them with the kids in the kitchen with Lex and Tim. I mean, there's just so many amazing scenes, and the practical effects and the early CGI that they did in that film was completely groundbreaking at the time. I mean, still Steven Spielberg's directing in that film was unbelievable, and his vision of just bringing these dinosaurs to life and bringing this story to life, it was just done so well, and you really feel a sense of suspense and awe and wonder, and I think that's why, unfortunately, for the series, a lot of people who are kind of casual, I don't want to say casual fans, but casual. Or even like movie critics tend to give the sequels a lot of bad rap, and I think the reason for that is that the first movie was so good that it was hard to recapture that, and I think that's something that we can't expect going into a Jurassic film, that we're going to recapture that original awe of it. I think it was just one of those moments in in cinema history where everything it just had everything going for it. It was really the first movie of its kind. It was groundbreaking in like I said, its special effects and CGI. The cast was perfect. The writing was fantastic. There were so many iconic lines in that. Like I mentioned, Robert Muldoon. Like every word out of that guy's mouth in that movie was just gold. Clever girl, shooter, I mean, that guy had amazing lines. And Ian Malcolm's character, the whole, even as an adult now, kind of to me, rewatching the film, I still love seeing the dinosaurs. It's still my favorite thing. But as an adult, you can appreciate scenes like when they're all sitting around the lunch table talking about, Ian Malcolm goes into his whole bit about, don't you see the danger of what you're doing here? Genetic power, is not meant, basically you're using this genetic power in a way that is irresponsible and all this. And it's interesting because it raises interesting moral questions without A, being preachy, and B, also it's thought-provoking, and it makes you think. And I really like that. And I don't know, I think the first two films really had that. More so the first film, because I don't know, I thought the first film had some great depth to it. Only scratching the surface of what's in the original novels, by the way. There's a lot more of that scientific intrigue in the novels. But I think it gave, as I said before, that original film a lot of meat. But at the same time, it's also a simple story. As a kid, you're just like, wow, you look at Alan Grant and you say, he doesn't like kids, and at the end of the movie he does, because he has this sort of adventure with them. And as a kid, you don't. It's an easy to grasp concept for the film for a kid, but as an adult, if you watch it, there's also depth to it, which is really like that whole marriage of those two. It just A, shows how brilliant the writing is, B, shows how brilliant Steven Spielberg is in his directing. And I don't know, I just think the film is so well put together. It's one of my favorites of all time. And I'll always, for me personally, have a soft spot in my heart for the whole series, and particularly that first film, because of just the sense of awe and wonder it gave me as a kid, being a massive dinosaur fan, and just, becoming a huge fan of, honestly, Spielberg's other work too, but it just giving me that sense of like, wow, like that's probably what dinosaurs were like, or very close to it. The most accurate depiction you're probably going to get for a long time. So I don't know. I really enjoy the film. I really enjoy the series. And I'm honestly, to wrap this up, super, super stoked about seeing the new Jurassic World movie, Fallen Kingdom, out today. Guys, if you guys go watch it today or tomorrow or this weekend or sometime this week, let me know your thoughts on it. I'm going to go see it Sunday. We're going on vacation, actually, and I'm going to have a little night out with Rachel, and we're going to see if we can see that film. And I'm super stoked. I have plans to see about 3 times in the theater, so to me it's going to be the movie of the year. Guys, thanks for watching. Feel free to comment below, subscribe if you've never seen any of my videos before and you like what you see here, and have a nice day. Peace.